Just like there are many ways to skin a cat, there are many ways to meet beautiful women. There are dating apps. There's, of course, Instagram. You could pay a club promoter to introduce you to girls. You could be a club promoter. You could meet them at work, university, private party, cold approach, day game, bars, etc. So what you're about to watch is a breakdown of every single way you could possibly meet a woman, and not just a list of all the ways to meet women. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? And we are going to rank them one by one. So no time to waste. Let's go. So coming out of the gate strong with what I would rank as S tier is throwing an event or party. It doesn't have to be a Project X style rager like we have both done many times. Some of the best parties in both Medellin, Colombia, and Brazil for that matter. And the reason why both of us love throwing events or parties, I mean, so many, right? You get to game 50 girls at once rather than relying on one flaky girl on a Saturday night who may or may not show up. You're networking and meeting cool guys. You're getting amazing content, kind of becomes this virtuous cycle. And even if you don't have the best game or you're not the best looking guy, like you guys always let me know in the comments, think I'm aware of this. You get to build attraction by being one of the highest value guys in the room by default, just because you put the entire event together.
I think that parties are S tier simply because it allows you to meet a ton of people at the same exact time, and it shows non-neediness with the person that you're actually attracted to, because you have other people that might show higher interest to having a good conversation with you or being potentially attracted to you as well. And I like to think of it as parties are compound interest, as Warren Buffett talks about compound interest in investing. It's the ability to meet people and be able to invite people out to future parties, and then have this compound interest of your social life where now you're never going to be left on a Saturday night with a flaked date.
All right, we're going to continue right along with another strong S tier option that probably none of you guys have ever done, which is paying a local club promoter in your city to actually feed you girls, to introduce you to girls. Pat, you have a lot of experience with this one.
So the reason why having a club promoter introduce you to girls and guys is S tier is because the club promoter does that as a full-time job, and you don't go out to clubs as a full-time job. So instead of you making going out to clubs a full-time job, just pay the club promoter for the introductions. It'll save you money, it'll save you time, and you'll get all the introductions that this club promoter already has with just paying the club promoter a little bit of money.
Yeah, you go directly to the source. They already know the hottest girls, and you'll get a really good introduction, right? They'll build you up before they introduce you. This is going to be a controversial one. I place social circle strongly at an F tier. The reason why is because I'm very picky about my friends. I have a certain number of friends, and I'm going to meet all the women that they know pretty damn quickly. And, what are the odds that just my 4 or 5 core friends are just constantly going to be making new hot friends, new girls to introduce me to? I think it's kind of a waste of time, but I don't know. Other situations, maybe not so bad. What do you think, Pat?
The downside is definitely that you get limited with the people that you can get introductions to. So if your friend only has a couple girlfriends, then you kind of limit yourself of where you go, what you do. But the upside, and the reason why I would put this in like C, B tier, would be that it gives you access to things that money couldn't even buy. Getting access to private parties, you have to do that through a mutual connection. There's tickets that you can't buy. There's event invites that you don't even know exist.
So Patrick mentioned private events and private parties, and we will jump into that. I place this at a strong A tier, almost S tier. I'll put it in A tier, and here's why. In a house party, frat party, some type of private event for whatever, a charity, a fundraiser, the environment is controlled. The girls are a lot higher quality. It's a little bit social circle-y, like people kind of know each other in a way. No one's going to misbehave. The girls are going to be a lot friendlier. And overall, like I said, just everyone's more receptive, more of a, I don't know how to say, a familial vibe, not in an incestual way, but you know what I mean, like a warm, friendly vibe. And like it's just overall higher quality environment to meet girls versus a chaotic nightclub. Nobody knows each other. Everyone's too cool.
One of the hardest parts about getting to know new people is the beginning of the conversation. And the best thing that going to a mansion or a private house party does is it makes every single conversation a warm introduction. It's like, how do you know the person who runs the party? How do you know that person over there? It becomes a lot simpler and easier environment to make new connections.
All right, moving along, sugar daddy websites, mainly seeking.com. I place this as a very average option, a strong C tier for kind of obvious reasons, right? You'll get some of the most beautiful, hottest girls in your city. You come very much like pre-selected. It's a lot easier to get value with these girls because they assume you're rich, even if you're playing kind of like salt daddy game, like my good friends Fresh and Fit do, Myron and Walter. They don't pay the girls, but they meet a lot of girls on Seeking. And then downsides, obviously, a lot of just prepaid, shall we say, a lot of guaranteed things if you give them resources type of girls, and a lot of, gold diggers. So, ups and downs, but there are some diamonds in the rough.
The best thing about these sugar daddy websites is that you come pre-qualified. You're by default going to be somebody that is better than the average guy that comes across on Tinder. And a lot of girls who won't even swipe on Tinder or don't exist on normal dating apps exist on Seeking. I used to use it a lot to bring girls out to events, but I think now it's a little bit more saturated, which is why I would put it in C tier.
Okay, moving it right along. Work, meeting girls where you work. Solid F tier. The girls are probably ugly. If there's even a 5 or 6 that work there, her ego is probably inflated, and you could get fired. You could lose your job. So meeting girls at work, solid F tier. Should we move on, or do you have anything else to say?
I don't think any girl in your work is worth losing your job.
Okay, moving it along. Instagram, solid S tier. If you guys have ever watched my channel before, I will definitely put Instagram there. I think Instagram is the greatest thing since sliced bread for meeting women. And there's a lot of ways, so let's kind of go through them. I'll kind of mention them, we'll go break them down. Instagram ads is something you can do. You can literally boost a photo or a piece of content and reach out to girls that liked that content. You can do a cold DM, meaning DMing strangers you don't know. I think I just said creating content and boosting a post. And then there are even message ads like on the story where you can literally put the text, hey, who's in Medellin? Who's in Stockholm? Message me. Now let's go through these one by one. So Instagram as a whole is like an S tier, right? The umbrella of Instagram. But Instagram ads, I put it a strong A tier, a fucking amazing option. The only reason why I don't put Instagram ads at an S tier is girls can get a little suspicious about why you posted the ad. So let's say you have, I don't know, just a photo of you under like the Jesus statue in Rio de Janeiro or some, whatever, any photo of you, right? And like hot girls are liking it and you're reaching out to the girls that like it. They can very often be like, so why are you running ads, bro? Like, are you that desperate? But it works fantastically. You get a likes and the girls kind of like come to you and they're pre-qualified by the time you message them. The next I have is cold DM, strong S tier, but it requires some assistance. It requires a virtual assistant. By the way, you guys can try one of our virtual dating assistants for free. There's a link in the description of this video. Just click that, you can apply for that. But so what I do is I have a virtual assistant. He knows exactly what physical type of girls I like, where to find them on Instagram, and we send 20 cold DMs a day, which is maximum. Actually, we don't do cold DM. We do slightly, we contact them. Let's just say that. I have a free Instagram masterclass. The link is in the description for that too. But that's what I always talk about. 1 in every 150 perfect 10 out of 10s thinks balding gingers with transparently white skin are beautiful and gorgeous, and that's lucky for me, but as if I have time. But I can contact them, my assistant can contact them, and all hot girls are on Instagram, and it allows you, like in a city where you may be walking around the streets, even Sao Paulo, Brazil. Walking around the streets, most normal people are very normal looking people. We tend to fetishize Brazilians as beautiful. The average Brazilian is not that beautiful, but on Instagram I can find and access them. Creating content, which I alluded to earlier, obvious S tier. Everybody knows influencers, streamers. You can even create funny skits and then boost them. I have a case study about that. I just got engagement, meaning like, follow, profile visit, save, some type of engagement on my profile when I made a funny reel and boosted it, meaning I paid to have my funny reel boosted to women 21 to 24 in Sao Paulo, which is my sweet spot, for, take a guess, how, like the cost per post engagement. I'll wait 1, 2, 3, take a number, take a guess. It was 0.004. So 40%, 1/4 of 1 penny is what I paid per engagement. So needless to say, that is why creating content and then boosting on Instagram is a strong S tier. And then message ads, meaning you create an ad that says, who's in Stockholm? Send me a message, and you're clearly there in Stockholm. I put that as a solid B tier. If you're like a Chatosaurus Rex or it's an easy dating market, it could be A or S tier, but generally the hottest girls are not gonna reach out and message to you that way.
I've personally used a lot of Instagram ads to host a lot of parties, and the problem with using Instagram ads is that you need to have somebody else that's there managing it for you, because the amount of volume that you can get and the amount of messages that you can get from entirely attractive women is absolutely insane, and you're just going to be overwhelmed with it, and you're not going to be able to get these girls out onto dates. So even if you're able to run these Instagram ads successfully, you need somebody that's there that can actually go and message the girls, pre-qualify them, and get them out to the event that you want, or else you're just going to end up with an inbox that's filled with a bunch of messages that girls that might not be your type, that you need to filter out, girls that aren't exactly the ones that you should want to message to bring out, and you're just going to end up wasting your money spending that on Instagram ads.
Okay, the most obvious one that we haven't gotten to yet, dating apps. So confusing. How can you even rate this one? I give dating apps, if you are a Chad, a good-looking 10 out of 10 gorgeous specimen of a man, yeah, like an A tier perhaps, right? If you're like a Chad. And if you're anything but that, if you're even like, a 7 and below, a strong F tier, at least in the United States. Now you go overseas, right? And then that can change. You're in Southeast Asia, you're in Eastern Europe, you're in Latin America. Now, dating apps in certain cities could be like an S tier almost, depending on how good looking you are. They're very looks-based, whereas Instagram, and we'll talk about this more later, but with Instagram, you can have content, like where I was talking earlier, that funny piece of content that I boosted. You can use lifestyle and your humor and show your personality more. Dating apps is more like, is he hot? Does he have a jawline? Left, right, left, right, left, right. So it's very dependent on looks. I would say, A or S tier if you're good looking and or an easy dating market. And if you're an average looking guy in the US, dating apps are a strong F tier.
One of the things that I look at when I'm trying to meet women is not just, am I able to meet women, but what is the type of woman that I'm going to actually meet? And the type of woman that I want to meet is not using dating apps, because she already has an abundance of amazing events that she's getting invited to, that she already has an abundance of options. And what I tend to find is that the girls that are on these dating apps are trying to go out with a bunch of different guys, are super hypergamous, and are always looking for that free dinner. So in my mind, I see dating apps more as C, D tier, even if you do live in one of those countries, because the type of woman that is actually going out on dates, and you might be wasting your time as well with some of these girls that you could be going to a party with 40, 50 other girls, or doing Instagram ads and running them successfully. I find that to not always be the best option.
And definitely, not all the highest quality girls are on the dating apps for sure, but they're all on Instagram, right? Mm-hmm. Every girl's on Instagram.
Great point.
Moving along, university, college, whatever you want to call it, strong B tier. It would be like an A or S tier, but typically those type of girls aren't that hot, especially these days. It would probably be a lot more left-leaning, a lot more feminist, a lot more so than they were definitely back in my day. But you get these, this close proximity. You're living all on top of each other, the dorms. It's extremely friendly and warm and easy to talk to them. You get placed into a school project together maybe, and now you have a whole semester to have this girl slowly get accustomed to your personality, and then she starts to like you, versus at a club you have to go up and show your confidence right away. So I place university, college, whatever you call it, strong B tier option.
I think going to university is a long game, right? It's not just about winning right now, or not just about winning this weekend, like going to an event or a party or running Instagram ads. It's a lot more of an organic way, but it gives you that proximity that you're talking about to attractive women that are, between 18 to 22 years old, that maybe if you live off a university campus, you don't actually have any type of commonalities or lifestyle commonalities with that age group of the women that you want to date.
Okay, we have another solid B tier option, which is double date with a friend. This is like an assist type thing. This is like a Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen assist thing. So basically it happens quite often where I would have a date, and maybe I was in a certain city where the IQ is very low, and I would get bored with girls even though they're beautiful, but they're boring to talk to. So I'd want to bring a double date. I want to bring a guy friend with me. So I'd say to my date, hey, do you have a friend for my friend? And I always have, very good looking friends, case in point. And I would say, hey, do you have a friend for my friend? And she'd say, yeah, I have a beautiful girlfriend. So the four of us go out together. It's a lot more of a fun time, and then it's like a layup, right? And anytime that I've been the guy where my other friend originally had the date planned, and then her girlfriend and I got set up, I've always at least made out with them. It's like I said, it's almost like a sure thing. It's like rabbits in a cage, right? It's almost like a sure thing. The only reason why it's B tier and not A or S tier is because you can't always control the hotness of the friend, right? But if if you have friends that date smoke shows that can always bring other smoke shows, I'd easily put it in, upgrade it from B to all the way to S tier.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a solid B tier. One of the reasons as well is that you can't control the quality of the friend. Sometimes the friend fluffs a little bit in terms of, oh yeah, my friend is so hot, and then you end up on the date with this girl that's not that hot. But if you do have a friend that's constantly going on dates and able to bring you an extra girl, it's always kind of a layup where the girl's already talking good about you, and you get to go chill with your buddy, do something maybe you normally do with your buddy that you just happen to bring girls along. So I would say a solid B tier.
So my buddy Patrick is going to talk about a strong B or C tier option, which is offering free photography to women as a way to meet them.
Photography, every single girl wants photos for Instagram. So this ends up becoming something that is an amazing value add for a lot of girls that you want to meet. If you want to meet the top quality models, you want to meet the top quality girls, well, typically they have amazing Instagram photos. And if you have a portfolio of other past amazing girls that you've shot with, it allows them to come out, meet with you one-on-one, shoot photos with them, and make them feel a lot more comfortable. One of the other things is that it also builds a lot of attraction because you're comfortable around being around attractive women in these environments. Also being able to show that as social proof to other girls that you might message on Instagram to go invite out on a date. One of the downsides is that sometimes I'll see guys go spend $6,000 to $10,000 on photography, go learn photography for 2 to 3 years, and then end up around these girls, but they don't know how to talk to them properly, and they don't know how to do anything because they're always afraid that, man, am I gonna hit on that girl? Is she gonna think that I'm a weirdo? Because you can quickly lose your reputation as a photographer. So I think the best way is not to necessarily be the photographer, but to be friends with the photographer and find locations and environments for a photographer who already knows hot girls and invite a photographer out to locations to shoot alongside the photographer and talk with the women when you're there.
So I like you, Patrick. You're always coming up with new ideas, new innovations.
But I would say that that's a solid BC tier.
Okay, a massive option to meet girls, which basically used to be pretty much the only way to meet girls, more or less in my day, was cold approach, aka walking up to strangers, walking up to people you don't know in social situations or just on the streets, and then gaming them, trying to seduce them, trying to be charming, funny, charismatic to a girl you just met in a random location. So first, I will talk about day game. There's day game and night game, right? So day game, I put in a solid D tier with a few exceptions and asterisks. The reason why I put overall day game into a D tier is because most girls you're gonna find around just walking the streets in 99% of cities, even like cities, like I said, in Brazil, even Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, Brazil, reputations for being like hot cities. 99% of the girls you see are going to be not very attractive, at least if you're used to dating like, perfect 9s and 10s like we are. It's extremely time inefficient. It can't be outsourced. Like this whole Instagram thing we talked about, getting an assistant that can be outsourced. Promoters and stuff, you're leveraging the promoters' time to get you meet girls. You have to like trade your time for money. Or so to speak. And it's really hard to build momentum. I get in a very logical state when I'm working and editing videos and whatnot. So for me to just like, I go out and I'm on the streets on my way to Whole Foods or whatever, and there's a 10, as if I'm just gonna be in like Mr. Social, like fun mood. And like by the time I gain momentum or quote unquote get into state, like I don't have the time to do that in the middle of the day.
I'd say the day game is a solid DC tier because of the inefficiencies that you talked about. It's like if you literally just went out for 4 hours and talked to girls, you'd have a way better time going to a house party, going out to nightclubs, doing one of the other options that we talked about on this list, or even just sitting on your couch and sending messages if you have a decent enough Instagram profile. Now, the upside of doing day game is that you can get girls that aren't very popular on Instagram. You can get a higher quality of girl that isn't in tune as much to hypergamy or going out to parties and clubs all the time, or doesn't have a lot of guy friends, maybe a girl that's a little more introverted. So I think that the quality of a girl that you could get in day game, if you see that super hot girl and she's walking around the corner, you're like, damn, I wish I could have a girl like that, and you go start the conversation, I think you could get a really high quality girl, but the opportunity doesn't always present itself on a day-to-day basis in most people's lives.
Yeah, you actually got a high quality girlfriend out of day game who's sitting right over there right now. Yep. Anyway, moving along to night game, bars, nightclubs, etc. like that. I put it a solid C tier, and here's why. Bars, which are easy to access, cheap, no cover, you can just walk in with guys, you don't need to bring girls, are gonna have mostly just for that reason guys and ugly chicks, right? Very, very rare that your local bar, they have like less volume and it's easier to chat, but it's mostly just going to be ugly, low quality girls. Now at a nightclub, you're going to get extremely beautiful women, especially if you go to the right nightclubs. But the problem there is they're exclusive, they're expensive, they're chaotic. And even though there's quote unquote a lot of hot women within those like 4 walls, 90% of them are roped off at VIP areas. And even at like a large table, what can you fit? 15, maybe cram 20 people in there. And there may be 200 people in the club, but the other 180 you don't have access to.
So with bars, I definitely agree. I don't even spend any time in any bars because of the quality is just not there. If you're able to get access in the nightclubs, which is being able to spend money on bottle service tables, being able to become friends with the security, being able to become friends with the promoters, the guys who have access, the DJs, then you could actually start getting in the environment to talk with the girls. But then you have to get your social skills up very, very high, because the people you're competing with could be other promoters, other rich guys, other guys who spend more time in nightclubs than you. So nightclubs can be great, but I would rather have a setup rather than just walk into there 100% cold.
Yeah, again, leverage like the promoter thing again. And like I said, money, like, if you're going to a nightclub in Vegas and you're like paying the bouncer to bring you hot girls all night, all this is like, there's like different, nuances to all of these, right? So kind of like, this is like day game on repeat, kind of like, I think of day game as going out specifically to meet women, but another form of day game, I guess, is just meeting women in your day to day. So at the grocery store, at the bank, wherever you meet a hot girl, dog park, if you just happen to be there. But again, my problem here is like, it's really hard to build momentum. It's really like, if you're just like always feeling amazing, you're always in a social state, and you live in a city like Miami or Medellin where there's beautiful girls walk around, sure, talk to girls in your day to day. But for me, for the most part, I have so many girls on my phone and Instagram I'm already talking to. I do think it helps build your confidence and your social skills by talking to people in the day, but overall, I don't know. I don't really do it that much. You talk to girls in the day-to-day you just see out and about, or?
I'll talk to people in the day-to-day, but I don't necessarily go out of my way, because it's like, if I'm going to an appointment or I'm about to go to the gym or something like that, to me, going to the gym is more important than talking to a girl at that exact time.
Okay, now we'll talk about something that I'm laughing as I'm saying it. It's something that like girls tell you, like if you ask a girl, which you never should, but if you ever ask a girl like, hey girl, how do I meet other girls? How do I meet hot women? They'll tell you like, first of all, why do you focus on dating so much? But like one thing they'll say is like, which at least they tell me, oh, take a class, take a cooking class, take a yoga class, take a spin class, whatever a spin class even means. So I place this at a solid F tier, because if you just go to a yoga class or, a cooking class, first of all, let's be honest, all the girls are going to be butt ugly, 99% of them. There's going to be, you're going to pay a lot for this class. Most girls are going to be low quality. And then if you're just the guy that's just, creeping on them, trying to like, hit on them and stuff like that, half of them may have boyfriends. All of them may have boyfriends. I place this at a solid F tier. It is a complete waste of time. You're probably just going to get Me Too'd so fast it'll make your head spin. So yeah, I don't like, go take the random class and meet girls there. No, I don't do that.
I think for 90% of the classes or 90% of the guys that are watching this, that's probably what the reality would be, is that it's ugly girls that you would kind of feel weird that you're hitting on them in some type of way. And also you're wasting a lot of time. I mean, what are you going to do? Go get ready, go drive an hour, and then be the one dude in the yoga class that everyone's going to know why you're there. It's creepy.
With most of the ugly girls, when like I said, you just get a virtual online dating assistant, which again, you can try for free, link in the description, hiring a promoter, so many ways that's why I love online. I'll say a quick tangent. One good thing about life is if you can spot trends, financial trends, what stocks to buy, what cryptos to buy, but also social trends as well. And dating is going from a primarily in-person activity to a primarily virtual activity. And those of us who are investing, it's like being an early adopter to AI, right? Those of us who are adapting and, not being dinosaurs and going extinct, building awesome social media profiles, awesome photos, leveraging technology, AI, virtual assistants, etc. Those are going to be the guys that are going to win in the long run.
And you're either going to get all the girls or no girls, because the world is changing.
All right, this is something we could probably both talk about, which is working as a promoter. So not hiring a promoter, but you yourself as a promoter. So once upon a time, I used to work the best venues in Hollywood, which in my day, 2013, 2014 was like Warwick, Supper Club, One Oak, etc. And I put working as a promoter as a solid A tier. Definitely not S tier. There's some problems with it. Like a lot of girls that go to clubs a lot are just whores and just low quality. So you will be around a lot of hot girls, but it could be girls that do Molly a lot, girls that. How many times did you get asked for cocaine? I mean, like it's nonstop when you're a promoter.
Maybe me not. I didn't really.
I would definitely, especially maybe it's more of an LA thing. You were in DC, but in LA, girls ask you for that. And then also you get this weird thing of like it's hard to mix like pleasure with business, because you have all these hot girls at your table and you're like, the only reason I'm doing this, staying up late, listening to loud, terrible music, being around alcohol, low quality people in this nightclub is because I want to, game these hot girls on my table. But you need these girls to come back week after week, to be your loyal girl. So you get this weird thing of like, do I hit on them? Now, kind of what you were alluding to with the social circle and the party thing, the way it goes is like this, right? You have your girls there and you say your lame joke to one girl, haha, your lame joke to the next girl, haha, you say your lame joke to the third girl, she starts laughing her ass off. Okay, that's the girl you like. But the girls that quote unquote choose you by, overtly like laughing too hard at your dumb jokes are not always the hottest ones. But listen, I still put it as a, B, A tier, something like that. Being around that many hot women and having status, that's another thing. Not only are you in an environment that has a lot of hot women, you by default have some status and some authority in that environment, which bodes extremely well, for generating attraction with the women.
I put being a promoter as a solid B tier if you're under 25 years old and you have nothing else going for you in your life. If you have no job, you have no money, you really have no connections, just become a promoter, because it'll give you access and the things that you could pay money for if you had a decent job, like for example buying a bottle service table, but it dedicates your entire life. You have to dedicate your entire life to messaging girls, messaging people for bottles. So what you end up with is golden handcuffs. It's like a great life, but it's not the best life, and you are kind of attached to it because it's also the way that you make your money, and it's really hard to find a way to get out of that as you get older and older. And you don't want to be the guy who's 35 years old being a club promoter because everybody knows why you're there.
This is something I have little to no experience on, so I'll let you talk about this one, Patrick. You can rank it and such. What do you rank on the tier list picking up girls at strip clubs?
So I used to go to a lot of strip clubs in Vegas, specifically Rhino and Sapphire. And one of the greatest parts about that was I would get a free limo, I'd get to go meet a lot of girls. If I brought a girl after a nightclub, I could go bring a girl to the strip club, and it would build a lot more attraction with the girl as well, because I'd have all these girls that would know me. And it was kind of this like manufactured pre-selection where the girl that I brought would see that I know all these really hot girls and be like, oh, hey, Patrick, how you doing? And be like, good. Oh, by the way, this is my friend. And it would build a lot of attraction with maybe a girl that was a little bit more sexually reserved. And then you'd start seeing the girl that I was on a date with become a lot more open. I really like strip clubs because I think it's the fastest way to get practice, to talk with women. And you don't want to be the guy, obviously, that's in the club spending a lot of money. You don't want to be the guy that's also the creepy old man just sitting in the corner by yourself. But your goal is to use it to improve your social skills and your comfortableness with being able to talk with super attractive women in a very sexual setting, because these strippers are talking with thousands and thousands of guys. So they're at the top level of female game in terms of being able to give you rebuttals, shit tests, everything that you're trying to overcome and become better as a man. And it's also a great environment to bring guys and girls to kind of show off the social proof as well. So if I was gonna say it's really difficult to date a stripper, and you don't necessarily want to date a stripper, but to be able to bring strippers out to other events, it looks incredible to other girls and other guys that you want to connect with.
So what do you rate it?
I'd say B tier because
B
it's
tier.
great to improve your skills, but you're not necessarily going to date the strippers.
Cool. There, you heard from an expert. Strip clubs, solid B tier. Okay, the next one on the list, being famous. Unless you have a very low IQ, you know that being famous is the ultimate S tier. This is God tier. This is broken. Being famous, there's just something in female psychology where you have a reputation, you're known. It's like the most insanely attractive. We all know famous musicians or people who are famous for nothing streaming, like streamers have their own groupies, guys who contribute zero value to society. They just play games. We were both mentioned in the news. I won't go into that story, but there's girls that literally hit me up that said, yeah, I found you mentioned the news. I'm super interested and curious to meet you. And they just come over and, The other thing I talked about earlier, being famous on social media. So obviously being like famous, okay, that's God tier, but that's like not attainable. But one thing you can do, like I said, is you can make, funny reels. That's like a service, like a high ticket service I'm gonna start providing for guys where we can just, have you do these funny skits, you DM girls, you boost them. Like I said, I was getting earlier in the video, I said, 1/4 of 1 penny interaction by boosting my funny skits here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So that's obviously one thing. You can get this like perception of being like kind of like social media famous without being that famous. And I've talked about this entire videos about this. I want to mention it quickly. Eddie White Jr. I'll put his picture over Patrick for a second here in the editing of this video. You would not expect Eddie, based on his physical attributes, to be a guy who has unlimited sexual options with beautiful women, but he does because he found an ingenious way. What he does is he draws illustrations of little idioms, like what's like an English idiom, like a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, or he came in like a bat out of hell. These like little phrases. He draws pictures of those in Colombia. And he went viral. He has like 250,000 followers. He's done like 4,000 plus of these little illustrations. And again, based on his physical attributes, no offense to Eddie, I love Eddie, I admire him, he's smarter than I am. But based on his physical attributes, you would not think Eddie would have this rock star dating life, but he does, because he's legitimately famous. He's been in the Colombian news for very different reasons that I was in the Colombian news. But yeah, if you can find any way at all to be famous, even like small time famous, you're in a local band, you're a DJ at a club, any way you can get some type of fame or notoriety, S tier. I mean, it's the it's the best thing. I mean, what else can be said?
There's nothing better than being famous because all the work is done before you even say anything. The problem is, how do you become famous? And I think that while a lot of people can't become famous, I think the easiest way is to pay somebody else who understands how to become famous, that knows how to make content, that is already famous, and pay them to make content with you.
The next one, alternative social network. I'll define that as Reddit, Craigslist if it still existed, language exchange apps. There's like apps where you can say, I want to learn English and you want to learn, I want to learn Spanish and you want to learn English, so let's chat for 30 minutes. I've picked up girls and dated girls from language exchange apps. Even Facebook could be kind of considered an alternative social network. If you know one, if you have like some, best kept secret in your city, it could be a good thing. I just wanted to throw this in to be thorough. Maybe like a B or F tier. I don't know. Let's just move on. I think this is like not relevant to most people.
Don't use Reddit. Don't use Craigslist. Facebook might be okay, and some local app might be okay.
Give it a try. Be creative. The next one, business or networking event. You go to like a local meetup for realtors in your area. D or F tier. Most of the girls there are going to be extremely unattractive. It's not expected to be a flirtatious, type of environment. They may be married. A lot of time investment. If you happen to be there and you see a cute girl, go for it. But I place, business or networking event solid D or F tier.
I'd say D tier. Maybe just because you're maybe going to find a girl that doesn't go out and do drugs and have an addiction. But, probably not the best spot to meet attractive women.
And the last one on our list, which is another solid S tier, is becoming a musician. So this kind of builds into the fame thing. Maybe you can sing on TikTok if you can hit those high notes. I won't even try, I can't do it. But if you can, even be in like a local band, or even if you're just DMing girls, meeting girls, and you have like a nice singing voice and you can send them a quick video of them singing, there's something about artistic guys that women just go ape shit for. Actors, musicians, sculptors, anything where you're like expressing your creativity, but I said especially musicians. But solid S tier. It's one of the best things ever. It's like crack to women, but I'll let you talk about this more. You don't want to do it unless you actually love music. If you're doing it just to do it to get girls, it won't work. But yeah, you explain your perspective on this.
The best DJs are the ones that are the most famous, not necessarily the best music wise. So I think that everybody's in love with DJs. Girls love DJs. Girls love going to the DJ booth. They love going around artists or going out to concerts. So those are great, but are you really gonna become famous if you become a musician? Are you really gonna dedicate all the time to do that? What's your real odds of getting to that level where girls would actually care about you? Because it's really winner take all. There's like a handful of artists that everybody knows. Everybody listens to Bad Bunny and Drake. But most of the artists that you're gonna see on a day-to-day basis, they're not getting girls that are like just begging them to go on dates with them. So in my opinion, it's not really worth pursuing because the likelihood of your success is very low.
And the last way to meet women, which is also a strong and solid S tier, is having me personally build you an awesome social media with amazing content, amazing photos where you look really attractive, and then outsourcing your entire online dating life with a virtual assistant. If you want to know more about that, my contact information is in the description of this video. And this is my good friend Patrick Red, who's now going to explain where you can find him.
If you don't want to miss out on some of the best events to meet women, then message me on Instagram at Coach Patrick Red, The Setup, and I'll send you a free detailed book on that.
And that's all for today, guys. That was every single conceivable way to meet women. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.